Ora, welcome to Eirlys Hunter, who's joining us this morning. Eirlys is the author of the Mapmakers race and its sequel, the Uprising. It's lovely to have you join us today, Eirlys.
Kia ora, thank you for having me here.
First up, Eirlys, as both these books are centred around maps, could you tell us what makes an interesting map for you?
Oh, I'm a real map nerd. I like all kinds of maps. I like atlases of the world and old maps. I particularly like old maps actually. The more I look at a map, sometimes it just seems so mysterious. It's a piece of art, and it's a mysterious piece of art, and you can interpret it. You can work out things from looking at it, or ask questions. So I think all maps are interesting, and some of them, they've got place names are so interesting, and why things are like they are. It's why does nobody live here? This is very strange, and yet there's all these people clumped together over there. What made that happen? So yeah, I'm a map nerd.
So in a way, they sort of they bring up more and more questions, don't they?
Yeah.
As you sort of try to decipher them. Yeah. Eirlys, could you tell us, how did you go about dreaming up the maps and the worlds within them for your novels, The Mapmakers Race and its sequel, The Uprising?
Well, when I was starting to write a book, I always spend quite a lot of time thinking about the place. The place sort of comes first. The place is where a story is going to happen, and then other things sort of fit together. I borrow places from places I've been, so that in the Mapmakers Race, the adventure is kind of, as it were, a sort of from the South Island, from the East Coast to the West Coast.
Yes.
But individual places, individual views, individual places where they stop are borrowed from all over the world. Places I've been, and just sort of they come into mind when I need them. Yes. And in the Uprising, which looks like this, it's a bit further afield. The valley of the story is a kind of, I'm not sure where it is. It could be the Hutt Valley, actually. It's a bit like that, but it's in the high mountains. Yes. And we had an amazing trip to Ethiopia once, some years ago, and I saw some high mountains. I saw some extraordinary views, and I've borrowed some of that landscape for the journey that the children go on near the beginning of the story. Yes. And the city, the town that is Cruxcia, which is where the Mapmakers are, yes, is from pictures of a town called Sana'a in Yemen, which I've never been to. I'd love to go though. It's full of like 7-story buildings made of mud and all highly decorated, and higgledy-piggledy lanes running between these beautiful places. So yes, yeah, I'm a magpie when it comes to creating the places. And the really weird thing is that, having written the book, I pass it all on to Kirsten Slade, who draws the illustrations, the maps. And they're just like I imagined. It's amazing. They're really, really good.
Oh, it's amazing. I have seen some of the illustrations that Kirsten has done, and for the Uprising, and it is beautiful, the detail that she's put into that.
Yeah.
The location that you mentioned, that our young readers will have to discover when they read your story. Eirlys, can you tell us, do you have a map collection at home?
A collection sounds rather grand, and also rather organized. I have boxes of maps of well, they're just shoved away places. Yeah, I do tend to collect maps when I go to different places, and then I can look at them again and try and recreate where I went and think about it. But yeah, my favourite map that I've got at home is one that I think it was my great grandfather. It belonged to him, and it was a sea chart. He was a sea captain.
Yes.
Well, he started life as a cabin boy, and he worked his way up to be the captain of a sailing ship that went around the world, picking up sugar here and dropping it off there, and then getting timber from Wellington, I don't know, and taking it somewhere else. Yes. Anyway, I've got his sea chart of it's of Adelaide, the Adelaide area, Kangaroo Island. Adelaide's just a tiny spot of about, tiny little village on the side of the chart. And I've got that framed, and I spend a lot of time looking at that. It's a beautiful piece of art, really. Yeah.
Yes, it would be.
Very old.
Yes, yeah. Wow. Eirlys, can you tell us what are you hoping readers will discover a little bit in your sequel to the Mapmakers race, without giving too much away of the story?
Well, I hope they'll find. Well, if they like the Mapmakers race, they'll probably be keen to know what happened to each member of the family, and so there's some of that is shown and told in the sequel. And I hope I'm not a great one for like messages in books and things. I think the story is the important thing. So the main thing I hope that I have, is a good read. But yeah, in the Mapmakers race, the story was kind of about a family, just a group of children, having an adventure and doing something, achieving something because they all did it together. They stuck together, they helped each other, and maybe how it's worth fighting for what's right and for fairness and justice. And but really hard to do as an individual person, but a whole bunch of people do it together, then they might get somewhere. Yeah.
Yes, it's so true, Eirlys. Definitely. Yeah. And Eirlys, can you tell us, when creating a map and a world within it, what tips would you have for our young map makers in dreaming up their own amazing map?
Oh, I used to love making maps when I was young, and there's no limit. You can have whatever world you want. I used to draw. An island is the easiest, obviously, because you're surrounded by sea, you've got borders. But I used to love just imagining all the things I could have. You could have mountains in the middle, and then hey, if it's a fun place, you could have a giant water slide all the way down from the mountain, from the top to a lake, into a lake at the bottom. Or if it was a scary place, you could have caves and snake pits and quicksand. I don't know what quicksand really is, but it's dangerous, and it used to be often figure in maps when I was young. And yeah, so yes, but you can also do maps like of places and just think about how you put the places you like in, and if you don't like the other things, you can get rid of them. And
yes.
You can move your friends to houses nearby, and you can do whatever you like. It's inventing a world is really fun. I think if there are some things which may allow a map to hang together and be convincing to you. Like rivers flow downhill, and if you start messing around with rivers that don't flow downhill and get bigger as they go up, that kind of stops looking believable. But if you can hang on to the sort of things like rivers go from the mountains to the sea rather than wandering around the coast, then you can do anything. You can have fun, and it can make it colourful, and you can invent a world. You can live in your world, as I often used to when I was a kid. Yeah,
Yes,
it's good fun.
I think that word, inventing a world and letting your imagination go, in what you create in a map is a good place to start, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Old maps used to say things like, "Here there be dragons," or "Lions live here," just because they didn't know what there was, but what there was beyond was a mystery. So they used to make it up even on maps that were supposed to be the best they could do at the time.
Yes.
And they have sea monsters, drawings of sea monsters in the sea and
Yes.
things. So yeah, they used to use their imaginations.
Yes. So invoking that sense of mystery. What's there,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you, Eirlys, for your time today and talking to us. And we do encourage young readers to pick up a copy of the Mapmakers race. And Eirlys, your new sequel, The Uprising.
The Uprising.
So thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to talk to you.